This video is supported in part by Retro Days, a place for nostalgia nerds to gather, share memories, chat, and engage. Go to retrodays.com or check our YouTube channel linked below. It seems like bigger and better ways to play our classic arcade games just keep hitting the market. But what about getting small? Micro, even.
Don't you know that you're a grown up? No games, no puns. Not allowed if you're a grown up.
Hey, welcome back to GenXGrownUp. I'm John, I am a GenXGrownUp, and I want to thank you for checking out this video and hopefully the rest of the channel. As I said, ways to play our classic Gen X era arcade games just keep coming. Obviously you have the big ones, those 3/4 scale machines from Arcade 1-Up. Then you got basic fun with the Arcade Classics line. My Arcade's got their micro player. Super Impulse brought us the Tiny Arcade, and now Super Impulse is back at it. This time it's something they call the Micro Arcade, not to be confused with the Micro Player from Anyway, the marketplace is getting so packed and confusing, so I must be getting tired of it, right? Nope, not a chance. These aren't really new. This is actually Series 2. I picked up QBert of these little micro arcade units from Super Impulse. This is a little bit new for me. I've been focusing largely on the tabletop experiences and how close can you get to the arcade. And then of course Super Impulse has the keychain ones that I just talked about, the tiny arcades, and then there's this one which touts itself as a credit card sized version of an original arcade machine, QBert in this case. I really kind of dig the aesthetics of this, and of course I'm a sucker for anything that's old classic arcade stuff. So I'm going to take it to the table, open it up, we're going to review it. If this is your first time though watching GenXGrownUp, look for that little bar that lifts, see that subscribe button in the corner, give that a click, maybe even enable notifications, making it way easier for you to find more of our Gen X inspired videos, just like this one. All right, Super Impulse and your micro arcade, let's go. So here's our QBert, and it comes on a card. You got the game, and you have a charging cable, and a little bulge here that I assume is a catalog. So let's cut it open and see what we get. Yeah, so starting with that bulge, not one, but two manuals in there. So you have the micro arcade instructions, as well as a catalog from Super Impulse of all the things that they have available. And as mentioned, a little micro USB charging cable. If you don't have a million of these laying around by now, I mean, but it's too bad it's micro USB. I wish the world would move on to USB-C, but okay. And our QBert. So a four-way D-pad here. Looks like two fire buttons, which I mean, QBert doesn't need, but I've seen that these little micro arcade machines actually, that's universal for them, right? So they just have the four-way and the A and B buttons. But looking around, we have a charging port here. On the top, we have volume toggle and power on off, and then the little screen on the front. And that's just about it. They advertise that it's about the size of a credit card, and man, they're not kidding. Look at that. I mean, obviously way, way thicker, but yeah, it's gonna take no more space in your pocket than just like a credit card. You can totally hide behind that. Really nice and tiny. Let's fire it up and see how it does. Is that a QBert song? I know QBert had a song. Okay, so let's give it a start. I don't know what that noise is, but I mean, I guess it... Okay, the sound is not quite right. I mean, okay. Oh, but gameplay is actually pretty decent. Look at that. You've got to get used to the fact that it's not a joystick, it's a D-pad. And of course, it's not turned diagonal like you would hope in a QBert. But I'm actually not having that much trouble understanding which way I'm going. It's pretty easy to get, I think. Let's go ahead and jump off. I mean, there's no confusion for me as far as controls, even though it's a four-way D-pad. And of course, buttons are irrelevant. You don't need the buttons at all here just to start the game. That's it. Oh, here comes the bad guys. Run! Oh, and he even has the name entry. Look at that. The sound is not quite right. But the gameplay is pretty darn good. So it has a volume level, but not really. It's just volume on or volume off. That's all you get. And I do like that you can see through it. I think that transparent kind of electronic look is pretty neat, actually. Kind of what's inside the machine reminds me of those transparent phones you could get in the 80s, you know? When you finally got a phone in your room. For all the terrible noises it's making, the gameplay is actually quite accurate. Let's actually try it with the sound off and see if that's any better. Now, you know what? Aside from the low pixel count, you would be forgiven if you thought this was proper, like genuine QBert without the weird beeping noises. Which makes this a pretty cool way to play QBert in your pocket if that's what you're looking to do. And let's just finish up this level. Boom. Hooray! I'm actually kind of surprised by how I feel about this little micro player from Super Impulse. I was ready to go, that's not the arcade ROM, it's too little, all those things. But so first, on the too little front, I mean, from a screen to body ratio, it's just about a 1/3 screen. It's pretty good size for what it is that you have. But how big of a screen can you fit onto a credit card, right? And so it has some pluses and minuses. Let's talk about the minuses first. So some might say too little is really, really too little. So that's true. I mean, I have to wear my reading glasses because I'm a Gen Xer and I'm old to play it properly because it's really little. The sound's also a minus. It sounds so tinny and awful. I mean, I know you can get better sound out of something small like this, but they didn't. Muted, it's actually a better game. But let's talk about the pluses now. Although it's not a genuine arcade ROM, it's a very playable version of QBert. And it's the first time, outside of my phone perhaps, you could argue, that I have a QBert that I can put in my pocket and take it wherever I go, which, I mean, I think that's kind of cool. And then there's the industrial design of this. I really like that kind of clear, transparency, let me see the guts of it. That kind of appeals to me, especially as a Gen Xer who had stuff like that. That was a big deal when home electronics, they wanted people to see what was inside of them because it was cool in electronics. And I like the throwback to that. And, you know, Super Impulse is not the first nor the last company to do that with their stuff, but I like that they did it here. I'm finding myself actually liking this, and I'm interested despite the negatives. I think it's a pretty cool little piece of technology. And again, the first time I can just take and throw it in my pocket, and I have QBert with me. A very good, playable, high-score style of QBert. So I'm really surprising myself here with what I think about this Super Impulse Micro Arcade QBert. I thought I was going to hate it. I thought it was going to be another piece of junk. You know, it's built well, it plays well, get rid of the sounds, just mute that, and you have decent QBert. So I'm going to award this 3.5 tokens out of 5. I would actually see myself buying more of these, which is unfortunate at the $20+ price point. It seems like too much. You know, when they all get on clearance, look out, because I'm going to be stocking up and getting a lot more of these. I really hope you found something in this video to enjoy, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye. GenXGrownUp is dedicated to bringing you new Generation X inspired videos every week. Here are a couple more you can watch right now, but for even more, subscribe and enable those notifications. And if you love what we do, we invite you to support us over on Patreon. And of course, your feedback in the comments and a quick thumbs up are always appreciated.